Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm Angie Scott. My co-host, Barb Carey, just finished wrapping up the Woman Ice Angler project and the Women on Ice event. I was so happy to get a chance to travel up for it. I'm literally on my way back to Nashville as I speak, just beating the incoming snowstorm. I wasn't going to be driving, but due to a death in the family, I ended up driving the whole way up to Minnesota earlier in the week and then on to Bayfield and back to Nashville, as flights would have been too expensive that close. So I envision being able to get all this together for you at the airport and on the plane. Can't really do that while driving, so with any luck, if you're subscribed to this podcast, it's going to pop up on your phone just as it does every Tuesday. And if for some reason I can't quite pull it off in time, you'll get notified just as soon as it is available. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment to do so. That way, you'll be sure not to miss an episode. The biggest wild card for me is going to be internet access once I get back to the boat. Either way, I'm not going to leave those of you who weren't able to attend the event high and dry, especially after we had such a great buildup of episodes leading up to the event. We featured wonderful conversations with Women Ice Angler Project team members Shelly Holland, KJ Houtman, Nicole Stone, and our big finale last week was Hannah Stonehouse Hudson. Regrettably, we ran out of time to feature the other amazing team members, Chantel Winstruck, Bonnie Tim, and Ricky Pardon. Special shout out to former team member Holly Hansen as well, who was a great help up at the event. Well, no doubt we'll have these ladies on at some point, as they're all amazing anglers and all-around wonderful people. So I drove up to Bayfield, Wisconsin from my parents' house in North Branch, Minnesota, with a quick stop-off at Fleet Farm just outside of Duluth. Fleet Farm happened to be a sponsor of this year's event. It was 19 below on my way up, and I knew I was going to need some heftier gloves. I found some nice Clam Ice Armor gloves there. And I should mention that Clam was also a sponsor of the event and of this special Women on Ice series of episodes.
Introducing the new line of float suits by Ice Armor by Clam. With patent-pending motion flow technology, it combines the security of a premium float suit with maximum mobility. Using a baffled, segmented design of the flotation material, we've created a line of float suits that are comfortable and flexible, so you can stay mobile on the ice. Breathable, waterproof, and flexible, our float suits have all the great features you expect from Ice Armor by Clam. Stay warm, stay mobile, and stay safe with the float suits from Clam Outdoors. Pursue the ice.
Well, let me tell you, I was so glad to have those gloves too, but we'll get into that in a bit. From Duluth, I drove around the lake into Wisconsin and Bayfield. It was a beautiful drive. There was light snow, and on the way, once I got to Bayfield, I was pretty thankful I traded out my wimpy two-wheel drive car I got in Nashville when I passed through Madison on the way up. I lucked out with a brand new 2019 Toyota Tacoma TRD four-wheel drive rental. Dang, that thing is going to be hard to give back. Anyway, I realized I needed to get my Wisconsin fishing license. Thankfully, I checked the DNR website and found one gas station in town that sold licenses. So I went and picked that up, and then I checked into my room at the Winfield Inn. My view would have been absolutely amazing as it overlooked Lake Superior, except all you could see was a blanket of white snow. Well, once I got settled, I started making my way over to the meet and greet, which was held at Wild Rice Retreat. What a fun night. It was so wonderful to meet so many of you in person, as well as several previous guests that we've had on the show. We had some great hors d'oeuvres, and then more ladies arrived for the presentation. The Women Ice Angler Project team members all got a chance to introduce themselves to the audience, and then it got really special. Hannah Stonehouse Hudson got up and introduced a special friend of hers named Kat. By the way, if you missed last week's episode, definitely go back and listen to that now, and then come back and pick up on this one. Kat is from the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, or Ojibwe, which Hannah's late husband Jim Hudson was a member of. Her presentation really tied everything together. She told us why the Bayfield area is so meaningful and special. It was cool for me to see her presentation too, because I'm from the White Earth Band of Ojibwe out of Minnesota. She also gave us some great insight into what a wonderful man Jim was and what he meant to the community as well. She was kind enough to allow me to share that with you all, so we'll start out with Hannah's special introduction to Kat, and then I'll let her take it away.
As part of this, obviously, the reason I am here and the reason I love and know Lake Superior is because of Jim Hudson, my husband, who was from Red Cliff and was a member of Red Cliff. And I've asked a good friend of ours and someone who knew him very well to talk about her connection to here. She is a member of Red Cliff as Jim was. And actually, I have to read what your job titles are because so Kat is very, very important to me. When Jim passed away, I had a lot of questions because he was a Ojibwe, and one of the great things about grieving in that culture is there are traditions to it that really did help me. The fire that they had for him every night, they had a fire going until his service, and I had to make a dinner for him every night. And on the last night, and Bossy, his best friend, would come and take the dinner. On the last night, I just had a package of Oreos because that was his favorite thing. And I had Bossy take Jim Oreos. And after that, if I had questions about dreams I had or things that happened, she was the woman that I contacted. She is the woman who answered questions. When I had crazy dreams about ravens, when I didn't dream about Jim, she is the woman that I asked, what is going on? So it was extremely important to me. She's also a first responder and was involved with all of this. So there's so many different elements, and it's important to me to celebrate the people who, A, make it possible to live here, because to live here, it's all volunteers. And B, the people that took care of me, which was this town, which is why I wanted to bring all of you here. And hopefully you'll come back again, because I love this town more than anything. So Kat, if you don't mind coming.
Ujuanian and Inouye Maganadug, Kat Jaganashwan and Nijini Kaz, Nisquaba Kong and Dunjaba, Migazi and Dodem. So I said, hello, my relatives, which I think is really important, especially tonight. And I said that my name is Kat in the English language, and I'm a proud member of the Lake Superior Band of Red Cliff Ojibwe. And also have connections to the Leech Lake Band, for those of you from Minnesota, as well as Lac de Flambeau, which is just south of here, about 2 hours or so. And the state of Jalisco, Mexico, as an indigenous person. So, and my last name is Warchowski. There you go. So there it is. There's who I am. That's it, right? That's all you wanted, Hannah? Was a good joke? And okay, all right. So I also said that that I'm from Eagle Clan, and Jim was Eagle Clan as well, right? So we give our clan, in case there are any other Native people in the room or Indigenous people that know their clan. You could be from around the world and be from a bird clan, and we would consider each other close relatives. So we say hello to our bird clan relatives. And then I said today is a good day, right? And I think today is especially crucial to acknowledge that. And as we look at this weekend and the things that are going to happen and what a lot of us will be honoring, I would say this weekend, I was taught by my mentor that we always acknowledge that every day that we wake up is a good day, right?
Yes.
And I think that's really crucial and important, especially as we gather here today and you all get ready to go out tomorrow and have a great time on my lake, on our lake, right? So a little bit about Jim. Jim and I were relatives in several ways. So Jim and I were Eagle Clan members, which was first and foremost the most important bond that we could have held. And that played a crucial role when he passed, and Hannah asked me to take part in his funeral service. And I held an eagle feather and delivered a prayer for him, and with a friend of mine. It was a day that I remember well and a day that I don't remember well. It was overwhelming, and it was beautiful and amazing to see that all come together for him in honor of him, right? And we believe that we celebrate people, right? We celebrate lives and we celebrate people. And as this day comes, every year we try and step back and honor and celebrate that instead of be sad. And so that's what we're trying to do here tonight and tomorrow. So I thank all of you for coming around Hannah and doing this and helping with the healing, because we believe every day you step forward after a loss is a day of healing. Every day. And so thank you all for helping his family and his honor and Hannah's honor as well, and anybody else who was friends in this room with him, because I know there are a lot of people. He was also a relative of mine. We call it, in Indian country, we call it shirt-tail cousin, right? So we can trace it somewhere down the line that I was related to him. And we acted like that with each other. So I knew Jim ever since I was a teenager, hanging out in Bayfield, and he was a police officer. And we would, just telling somebody very close to me tonight as I was coming in to drive here, that we would purposely wait for Jim, right? Curfew would hit at 10 or 11 o'clock or whatever it was. And we would purposely wait for him to come kind of wrangle us, because we wanted to see him, we wanted to talk to him, right? And he was that guy, right? And so he would let us stay a little longer, and we'd say, and I don't know if I should, his nickname was, is this okay? So his nickname was Putz. And we'd wait for Putz to come and wrangle us, and he'd say, "Come on, Cat, is your watch still broken? Here, I'll give you mine right off my wrist." He was that kind of guy. And so, but we just wanted to see him. We wanted to see his smile, and we wanted to talk to him. So he was really important to so many of us, and I just want to acknowledge that and our connection to the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe. And that was really important. And we briefly talked about that once in a while. And so that's when Hannah asked me to do this, and she said, "Can you talk about the importance of this area to the Ojibwe people?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then she said this line, and I'm going to remember it. We have these moments in life where you remember the exact things that people say to you. And she said, "Jim told me that whenever I bring somebody new to this area, we tell them how important this place is to us, and us as Native people." Right? And so that's what I'm here to do. It'll be fast. There's so many stories. I was really excited because I was like, "Man, Hannah, we were messaging, and I was like, I don't want to do a presentation. Can I do storytelling? Because right now with the snow on the ground for Native people, storytelling is when this is the time it happens."
And this is why I never got stories, because he was ice fishing.
Exactly. So she's like, "Please tell me stories." So we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. Really quick about me, I'm the assistant director, soon to be director of the Department of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion at the University of Wisconsin Superior. I was at 8 years at Northland College before that as the director of their Indigenous Culture Center. And so this is work that I take very seriously. Before that, and this is where Jim and I had a connection as well, he always said to me, "Kid, you have the job that I always wanted." Always. Every time he would see me, he'd stop in his little Ford Ranger pickup truck, and he'd roll down the window and he said, "Hey, how's my favorite park ranger?" Every time. He wanted my job so bad. And I would tell him about all these adventures that I had, and we'd talk for hours and just kind of on the streets of Bayfield. So I worked for the National Park Service before that, and I was a caretaker of this place. That's how I viewed my job, right? And so I was there for 13 seasons. I started as a teenager, which is why he was super jealous of me, and we kind of heckled each other about that. So for a long time, I've cared about this place and this lake. So how did we get here? This is the really important part I think every visitor needs to know. The Ojibwe people believe that these islands were created by, and these are stories that we can only tell in the winter, which I'm super excited, half man, half spirit that wandered the earth called Waynabuju. And that half man, half spirit is kind of our Aesop, right? Aesop's fables, kind of how things came to be. And this is one of my favorite stories that we tell. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them that we tell every winter. And so Waynabuju, there was this giant, there still is, we believe, this giant beaver that lives in Lake Superior, right? And it's huge. So this beaver is out in the lake, and Waynabuju is kind of a trickster, right? So Waynabuju said, "I'm going to catch that beaver. I'm going to catch that beaver, and I'm going to eat him for dinner." So what he did was he built a dam right around Ashland, right? So down around the bay, Chequamegon Bay, there was a big dam that he built. He took handfuls, right, because he was a big spirit. That was our spirit, and so he helped create things. Took handfuls, and he's laying the land down, laying the land down, laying the land down. And he gets this beaver. He's so excited. He finally caught this beaver. He's been chasing after him for decades. The beaver busts through the dam, right? So he gets really mad because Wayne had a really short temper. Really, really mad. And he grabs pieces of that dam, and he's trying to hit that beaver to knock it out. And everywhere he grabbed a piece of land, there was an island that was created. And he threw 21, actually more than that at the time, 24, 25, 27 people believe. Sometimes people, when I hear the story, they say hundreds of islands used to exist out there. And every time he grabbed a piece of land, that island would form. And the beaver kept swimming out to the deepest part of the lake. And that's how the Apostle Islands and the Ojibwe Isles were created. That dam is Long Island. So those of you that know the islands, take a look at that map. It looks like the end of a dam. That's how the islands were created. But the Ojibwe people weren't here yet. We were out east. So the Ojibwe people, contrary to popular belief, weren't always here. There were other populations of native people that were here. And so we were out east. Somebody had a vision. And we believe in visions. We believe in dreams. I had so many messages at 3 a.m. from Hannah. What does this mean? And I said, it's important, right? Jimmy's talking to you or showing you that he's around, or other things are showing you that they're there to help you heal. We believe in those things. Things happen for a reason. And so somebody had a vision of this shell. It was a big sacred shell to us. And it was appearing in places they had never seen. And so they asked our educators and our healers and our medicine people and our teachers, what do we do? And they said, you have to listen to that. It's important. Those visions came to you. So they packed up our people and they started moving. And they were told to follow the waterways. And there were 7 stops along the way that happened over generations of time. And those generations would settle for a while, and then they'd see another vision. And they'd settle for a while, they'd see another vision. And as we were doing that, we were coming across the Great Lakes. So as you look at the map of Ojibwe people, we spread out along the Great Lakes. We were following those beautiful bodies of water that you all value so much as well. And so what we were doing is we were seeing places like Niagara Falls. How many of you have been to Niagara Falls? That's not something you picture in your mind, right? You can't imagine what Niagara Falls looks like until you get there. We had people seeing visions of places like Niagara Falls, right? And when they got to Niagara Falls, of course, they said, this is where we're supposed to be. So they'd stop for a while. Manitoulin Island, they'd stop for a while, or Spirit Island, or whatever you'd like to call it. There are other places all the way along the Great Lakes, brought them all the way to Duluth, right? So we actually passed this area, we stopped in Duluth, and then something said, you need to follow the South Shore back. And that'll be your final resting place. Does anybody know where that final resting place was? Madeline Island. Right across the bay. You all waking up on Winfield property tomorrow, you're going to look at the final resting place of where we were told to stop. We were on this mission to find the food that grew on water. And everybody trusted that, right? We are people of faith and of vision, and we didn't know what that was. We got to Madeline Island. Somebody saw a vision of that shell disappearing behind a sunset behind the island. And we knew that was the last stop for us. Right across from Madeline Island in Bad River, Kakagan Sloughs, kind of by the big dam, right? There was a huge slough of wild rice. And it sustained our people. That was the food that grew on water. We had found our place. There were ample fish. There were ample deer, berries, maple syrup, everything. We had what we needed. We were thankful for it. We only took what we needed. We sustained. We continue to sustain. That wild rice is still across the bay. That island is still there. That big dam is still there. We were told this is the ceremonial, spiritual hub of the Ojibwe Nation. Do some research tonight. See where the Ojibwe Nation extends. All the way up into Canada, all the way out west, all the way down south. There are bits and pieces of Ojibwe people all over. And we just kind of spread out, but we centralized around this lake. So many people make spiritual journeys to that island. I don't think people realize how many people a year come from around the world to acknowledge that spiritual Mecca. So when you all go out on the lake tomorrow, you are coming to the spiritual hub and heart of the Ojibwe people, right? And I hope that Those of you that have guided up here, continue to guide up here, acknowledge that every day you go out and every day you come in, that beauty that you experience, that feeling you experience, that's what drew the Ojibwe people here. That's why Jimmy and I are here always, right? And so when we talk about have a great time, good luck fishing, really from those of us that are caretakers of this land and whose ancestors are part of this land and that lake and that water that we're so lucky to live on, we're so lucky to wake up on every day, come here when we can and visit and acknowledge that, we're asking you to acknowledge that as well tomorrow. Take a moment. Be thankful. Everything we do, we say thanks for. You catch that fish, you say thank you to the fish, just for a second, because everything we believe in this area has a spirit. Everything in the world has a spirit. And that fish took a moment, whether you're going to keep it or not, to say hello to you, to give you part of its spirit to take with you. When you leave, you're taking all those spirits with you, including the water, the wind, the snow, the cold. It's all part of what we love and live for here. And that's part of the spirit of this area for the Ojibwe people. So please, I know you're going to take care of this place. Take a moment to think about that tomorrow, if you don't mind. And say thanks to Jimmy. Say thanks to our ancestors. Say thanks to your ancestors for getting you here. And then have a great time. Please be safe. And thank you for respecting this area so much and loving it so much. I know you will, as much as we do. Thank you.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that and learned something about the area. Maybe you can make it up that way sometime. And if you go in the summer, be sure and look up Shelley Holland's Escape Excursions. She'll be happy to take you around and show you the Apostle Islands. After Kat's presentation, they had a showing of the Grass-Fed Media documentary from last year's Women on Ice event called Northern Exposure. If you haven't checked that out yet, definitely do so. I'll put a link to that in the show notes for this episode, which you can find at thewomanangler.com/44. So for the big day Saturday, we met up on the shore of Lake Superior around 7 a.m., and it was buzzing with excitement. Women were loading their ATVs and snowmobiles up with pop-up shelters and other equipment. It was so cool to see. Oh, and speaking of cool, it was cold. I think somebody shared a picture of their car showing it was 23 below that morning. I was a little cocky with my Mustang survival suit, but then it wasn't long before my toes felt like they were going to fall off inside my boots. Luckily, I had some of those hand warmers, so I shoved those down in my socks, and that helped a little bit. But it wasn't too long before I hopped on the back of a snowmobile and headed out on the ice. There were some danger spots we had to be aware of, but everyone was pretty safe. If you go to the Women on Ice Facebook page, you can see a really cool aerial shot of the entire area where we were fishing. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. There's some pretty clear cracks going across the ice. I was super happy to get paired up with Shelley Holland as my guide. She set myself and the other team members up in a nice clam pop-up not too far out. We were about in 4 feet of water. The brown trout had been coming up there laying their eggs. And once we closed all the windows in the shelter, you could see straight down to the bottom, and it was like fishing in an aquarium. The only problem was we weren't seeing many fish. We suspect all the commotion from the snowmobiles, ATVs, and ice augers might have spooked them a bit. It wasn't too long, though, that one of the tip-ups just outside our shelter produced a really nice brown trout. And I got some video of that with my GoPro I can't wait to check out. I plan on putting together a little video from that footage, so you can stay tuned to the Woman Angler and Adventure Facebook group for that, and I'll post that there when I get that ready. Speaking of video, I had all intentions of doing some Facebook Lives, taking tons of photos and more. However, when I got out there, my phone, even though it fully charged overnight, was only showing 1% battery. And I realized later, once it warmed up, that the battery came back too a little bit, so it was a good lesson to learn for me. Hats off to Ricky Pardon, who was the photographer for the event. She came prepared with extra batteries. She had them dispersed all throughout her ice suit with hand warmers to keep them warm. So, way to go, Ricky. And again, check out the Women on Ice Facebook page. You'll be able to see a lot of her photos and some videos there. Anyway, though we didn't catch a ton of fish, we sure did have a blast. We dubbed our team Nevermind. At one point, I think it was Vicky Jung who caught this tiny tadpole-looking fish. We named it Why Bother and let it swim around on top of the ice for a tiny bit, and then we safely released it. I got a little audio from our antics, and a lady named Rachel who was fishing with us in our group shared a really cool story from her life as an angler that I wanted to share with y'all. So here you go.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm out here on Lake Superior fishing for trout.
Which is not for the faint of heart.
It is absolutely not. It is -18.
There's more in the other holes,
we are not seeing any fish. We are not deterred.
Yeah.
We will persevere.
We're women.
Yes. I grabbed a big handful. So tell me, you're mentioning something that happened really awesome regarding Shape Magazine. Tell the listeners about that real quick.
I would say last fall, a year ago from this past fall, Shape Magazine was running a new article, and they wanted women to write in who had had some sort of experience of feeling empowered and feeling strong and feeling physically at their best without being in a gym. And so I thought, you know what? It might be a far-fetched, idea, but fishing for muskie and the biggest muskie I ever caught, like that felt like my victory moment physically.
And how big was that muskie?
52 inches.
Which is amazing.
Yes, it was my first over 50, my first 4-footer. It was so amazing. I cried.
Where'd you catch it?
Hayward area.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Which makes it even more exciting because,
cool. Yeah.
Those Wisconsin fish are more elusive.
So you're near Hayward, and you caught a giant muskie.
Yeah, so I saw this article, the running that they had done in the magazine. I said, well, I'll just throw it out there. It's very unrelated. I said, there's no chance in hell that a women's magazine regarding fitness is going to publish anything that's about women fishing. But I said, I'll give it a try. So I submitted my story. I completely forgot about it. It was the holidays, life was chaotic, and I got a call very end of April from New York City and a message, and I'm like, well, what is this? And it was an editor saying, hey, we followed you on Instagram, we got your story, we want to publish your story, but we need you to call us back. We want to run this piece within 48 hours. We need the piece. And so I was like, well, okay. So after work, I called them back. I told this story of the catching of the muskie, and it was probably an hour and a half of me just talking on and on and on and getting really excited and getting really down and then getting so excited and being so tired and then being like it was like they were there. I mean, they felt that. And it was a writer in New York listening to the story, and she's like, she's never been fishing in her life. She has no idea what a muskie is. So it was just, she was super lured into the story because she was like, what is your deal? So anyways, I tell the whole story. She says, okay, well, we'll send you a proof, in a couple of weeks. And a couple weeks later, I get a proof. And it's not my writing, but it's very well depicts the story of it all. And my birthday month is June. The June issue of Shape. Is it?
Yeah.
June
1st, actually.
Okay, I'm June 11th, so that's very close. I get this notification, yep, it's going to be run in June, and my mom goes out and buys 100 copies, and what's done is done. It was awesome. I mean, it was so cool to be, especially I think of Shape as being more of a suburban, I don't want to say mom, but a suburban mom magazine, and it's not, it has nothing to do with, you could go into In Fisherman, those types of magazines and talk about your story, but I think that the coolest part of this was it was Shape Magazine, so it's it's a genre, it's a magazine, it's a company that does not talk about fishing, right. So it's really fun to be a part of.
Again? No. You exposed a whole segment of people that might not otherwise ever be,
thank you, dear.
exposed to fishing.
Exactly, yeah. It was super cool. It was super cool.
Yeah. I think we got something going on over here.
Uh-huh.
I saw another fish. It was about this big.
Dang it.
It was this big. Honestly, you guys.
You guys can't see what she's showing, but it was big. Hey, we're fishing in a nice little clam. I mean, a big clam pop-up deal. I mean, how easy is this to put up? Is it?
These are so easy to put up. One person can do it if you want.
It looks.
Ooh, her fish is back.
Oh, we got another one.
So yeah, you just pop out the sides and pop up the roof. If you can't get the roof in, you turn it on its side and then push it through and put a couple stakes in. If it's not windy, you don't even have to.
So all these like plastic stakes, they're already set.
Yeah, the poles are already set. So this is just, it all collapses on each other.
Oh my God! You came back!
Wow,
Look at
the size of his fins!
I cannot believe
Yeah, you biggest fins I've ever
If you
seen.
hold that close to the camera.
Yep, get this.
It's gonna
Keep
look
it on
like
the
a
hook and hold it
monster.
at the camera. Look at his fins. Is that a eel pout?
What is that?
It's hard to
What
ID.
is that?
It's hard to
Give him a
ID.
kiss.
Oh, look, he can. Let's leave him swim in here.
Yeah.
Put him in the middle.
He's an aquarium. You're right.
He's our.
Don't you
who's
love
our-
it?
What's it called?
Mascot.
He's our mascot.
We got a mascot.
You got a mascot.
You can't see this on here. I gotta get my GoPro and video it.
I think
Oh
everybody
my
should
god,
maybe
so cute.
That was awesome.
Team Nevermind found a fish.
So we're with Team Nevermind out here on Lake Superior. And we got a big-headed little brown that is going to have a complex growing up, but thanks to us.
I think it's a funny team. Team Nevermind.
I think...
Nevermind.
Thanks to Team Nevermind.
Gosh, you guys, Nevermind.
Want to hear our team name?
Yeah.
Nevermind.
I like that.
That's like my grandpa. My grandpa had this cat, right? And he named him Ask Him. So when he took him to the vet and they were like, "What's your cat's name?" He said, "Ask him." And they were like, "Seriously, what's your cat's name?" I wish you guys could see this. Maybe we'll share it on
We
our...
could share it.
Yeah.
We could share it.
Send it to me. We'll
Okay,
share it
well,
on our
yep.
website.
He keeps
But-
cruising.
A little
peeing?
tadpole.
I know. Keeps coming out. I'm not fessing up.
Slash, why bother?
Team Nevermind.
Team Nevermind did not
Caught
catch
a... Why
Nevermind,
bother?
we didn't catch a fish.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your Shape magazine story.
fun.
That's
That
pretty
is
awesome.
Great story.
That's fun.
There's not a lot of people that could say they got in a,
I'm gonna
you know,
take
kind
them
of
out.
a mainstream magazine
I want a
about
picture of this.
Okay.
catching a fish.
Well, after a while, we went to deeper water along the way, stopping to have some hot dogs, which if you ate them outside and didn't eat them fast enough, they'd be frozen before you knew it. Later in the afternoon, we were just chilling, fishing, singing some songs. Suddenly, it was like there was an earthquake. Holly Hansen, who was in our shelter at the time, said that was the biggest movement of ice she'd ever experienced while out ice fishing. I saw some new cracks forming underneath us, and we weren't out there too much longer. What an amazing day. I'll share a photo of Team Nevermind on the website where I look like one of the village people in my Mustang suit. Unfortunately, I had to hit the road for the 3.5-hour drive back to North Branch so I could head back to Nashville bright and early the next morning. I missed what looked like an amazing dinner at the creamery afterwards. I hated to have to miss it, but at the same time, I was really thankful to have the experience I did. I hope to join everyone again next year, if not sooner. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little recap. We'll be back here with you same time, same place with another episode. Oh, and some big news that just happened. We just signed an agreement for the show to be featured on Pandora. So we're super excited to be available on as many platforms as possible to reach more listeners and inspire more women. One thing you could do that would really help us is taking a moment to leave a rating and review on iTunes. The higher we get in the rankings and search results helps more people find us as well. Please keep sharing, and we promise to keep bringing you the best episodes we can with as many amazing women, anglers, and adventurers as we can. Thanks again for listening. See you next week.